Good morning, Trustee Ames.
Good morning.
It looks like we have almost everybody present. I think we're just waiting for the Chancellor.
Thank you.
Just wait a couple minutes.
Of course. Thank you.
Joan, were we expecting John Fallon?
No, we aren't expecting him today.
Okay. Trustee Ames, we're all set to start when you're ready.
Thank you, Ellen. Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you. I'd like to call the ASA committee meeting to order and ask Ellen to take the roll call for the meeting, please.
Certainly. Good morning, everyone. Trustee Doak.
Here.
Trustee Ames.
Here.
Trustee Gardner.
Here.
Trustee Cates.
Here.
Trustee McMahon.
Here.
Trustee Mishu.
Here.
Trustee Riley.
Here.
And that's all that we were expecting.
Right. Thank you. May I remind all of you, please, to leave your mic muted when you are not speaking. And with that, could I have a motion for the Academic and Student Affairs Committee to go into executive session under provision of 1 MRSA section 4056A to discuss the evaluation of personnel and the consideration and discussion of appointments, employment, and duties, and under 1 MRSA section 4056C to discuss the condition, acquisition, or disposition of real property or economic development if premature disclosure of the information would prejudice the competitive or bargaining position of the University of Maine system.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Ellen, would you take the roll call, please?
Certainly. Trustee Doak.
Yes.
Trustee Ames.
Yes?
Trustee Gardner.
Yes.
Trustee Cates.
Yes.
Trustee McMahon.
Yes.
Trustee Mishu.
Yes.
Trustee Riley.
Yes.
The motion is carried.
Thank you.
Looks like we're ready to start, Trustee Ames.
Thank you, Ellen. Well, again, good morning, everyone. It's nice to see you. I would like to introduce the first agenda item and turn that agenda item over to President Farini Mundy. That would be tenure at the time of hire, Professor of Education and Human Development at UMaine.
Thank you, Chair Eames. It's a pleasure to bring to the ASA today the proposal for the appointment of Dr. Penny Bishop as professor with immediate tenure in the School of Teaching and Learning, as well as our College of Education and Human Development. Dr. Bishop is the new dean of the college. She comes to us from the University of Vermont, where she has had a distinguished career as a researcher and scholar, particularly with focus in the middle grades. And it's a pleasure to have Dr. Bishop on our campus. You're mute.
Thank you. Are there any questions or discussion? Okay, seeing none, I will read the text of the proposed resolution. And that is that the Academic and Student Affairs Committee forwards this item to the September 27th, 2021 Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and approves the recommendation for tenure at the rank of Professor of Education and Human Development to Dr. Penny Bishop, with tenure to be effective July 1, 2021. May I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Trish,
Second.
second by, I saw Tim Doak. Ellen, can you take the roll call, please?
Trustee Doak,
Yes.
Trustee Ames,
Yes.
Trustee Gardner,
Yes.
Trustee Cates,
Yes.
Trustee McMahon,
Yes.
Trustee Mishu,
Yes.
Trustee Riley.
Yes.
The motion is carried.
Thank you. And tab 2 of the agenda, I will also turn over to President Farini Mundy, tenure at the time of hire for the professor in the Maine School of Business at UMaine.
Thank you. This is the second new dean that we'll be discussing today. I'd like to bring to you my recommendation for the naming of Dr. Norman O'Reilly with tenure as a full professor in the Maine School of Business, because Dr. Riley has arrived already and has gotten started. Several of us have gotten to know his work in the Portland area, where he is heading up the Graduate School of Business for the University of Maine. He's the dean of the Graduate School of Business. Dr. O'Reilly has a distinguished career. He has worked in a number of universities, most recently coming to us from the University of Guelph. His field is sports management and sports business, and he's an accomplished scholar in those areas with several books and papers, and I recommend him to you strongly.
Thank you, President Farini Mundy. Are there any questions or any discussion? Roger?
Thank you. I had a question. Both of these nominees obviously seem to be incredibly well qualified and meriting what we're doing here. This is an exception to our usual rule about not awarding tenure as part of an administrative contract. So my question is, just historically, how often have we done this? I have no quarrel whatsoever with either of these two. Just want to understand historically how often this gets done.
So in my experience here at UMaine, we have done this with other new deans who have come to us, Dr. Faye Gilbert when she joined, our provost, Dr. John Volin, and also senior administrators that have come in, heads of centers. Normally, as they move from other universities, they want frankly the recognition as they work with faculty of the ranks that they've achieved in other places. And so, at least at UMaine, I know that we have done this several times in my 3 years here.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I will read the text of the proposed resolution, and that's that the Academic and Student Affairs Committee forward this item to the September 27th, 2021 Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and approves tenure at the rank of professor in the Maine School of Business to Dr. Norman J. O'Reilly with tenure to be effective July 1, 2021. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved by Trish, seconded by Tin. Ellen, can you take the roll, please?
Trustee Doak,
Yes.
trustee Ames,
Yes.
trustee Gardner,
Yes.
trustee Cates,
Yes.
trustee McMahon,
Yes.
trustee Mishu,
Yes.
trustee Riley.
Yes.
The motion is carried.
Thank you, Ellen. Turning now to tab 3, I'll turn it over to Dimitri Bam, new academic program proposal, Master of Legal Studies at Maine Law.
Well, thank you, Trustee Ames. Glad to be here and excited to present this degree proposal for an MLS degree, a Master of Legal Studies. It's a proposal that has been in the works for years. This is really a degree that caters to professionals or future professionals who work in heavily regulated industries, healthcare, human resources, privacy, cybersecurity, finance. There's a wide range. Or those who work or regularly interact with lawyers or work with laws. This can include the press, criminal justice, or many other careers. But individuals who are not willing or not interested in obtaining a 3-year law degree, we recognize that taking 3 years out of a busy career and working on a law degree and taking the bar exam is not for everyone. So we think this is the right time for this degree. We think it'll benefit the state of Maine quite a bit, both the employees and the employers. We have had lots of interest in our offerings and in this type of degree over the years. We've had a number of professionals from the state reach out to us, asking, can they take some of our courses? Is there a degree they can take to learn more about law and lawyering? We've had a study done by Hanover Research that has confirmed that there is a huge need in the state, both for employees and for employers. The employees want the training, and the employers have faced challenges in filling some of these positions that require legal experience or understanding of laws. That's not surprising. Law is ubiquitous these days. It's hard to find any career path where you're not interacting with laws. So this will allow students to get that exposure to legal issues, legal challenges in their fields. And this also becomes an important part of our programming. We have developed a compliance certificate a few years ago that's also designed for professionals who work in the compliance field. This degree will be part of this larger effort of outreach to the state of Maine, and to professionals in the state of Maine. We also think it benefits the connections throughout the University of Maine system. This makes our program much more accessible to students throughout the system, including MBA students and other graduate programs. We've had challenges over the years, creating collaborative programming. Part of the challenge has been distance and location, the fact that our offerings have not been online. This will be an online asynchronous program that becomes more available to graduate students throughout the system. Part of the challenge has been that all of our students have gone through the same first year programming and have a certain basis and foundation. And so when we get to the upper level courses, students from outside of the law school are at a disadvantage. This program will be designed with these professionals in mind. There will be an introductory kind of a boot camp type course that introduces students to the foundation of law. And these upper level courses in employment law and healthcare and finance will be designed with these students in mind. And so we'll kind of get rid of that disadvantage that students face coming into upper level graduate law school courses. It also makes it easier for students in rural parts of the state to have access to our education. We have some top-notch faculty, really great courses. It's been a challenge accessing more rural parts of Maine. As I said, these will be online courses that'll be much more broadly available, both throughout the state and nationally as well. Obviously, as you saw in the materials, there are a lot of law schools, including law schools in New England, that have MLS or similar degrees. Our hope is that in addition to developing the kind of general MLS degree, we can also build on some of our strengths in privacy law, in business and transactional law, in environmental law, maybe in elder law, to develop some specializations that would distinguish us from other schools throughout New England and throughout the country. And I also think that developing these online courses gives us a greater presence online that will not only help reaching kind of beyond the law school, but help with our JD program as well. The ABA has been becoming more flexible in allowing more online courses. We have not developed a rich online curriculum, and this will be an opportunity for our faculty to work on developing online courses. And some of these classes may also be available to our JD students. So I think it benefits our core JD programming as well. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about either what the program is or kind of the reasons why we think it's the right time to develop it.
Any questions? Roger?
Thank you very much for the presentation. So using your example of employment law, say an upper level course in the law school, so there would be an employment law class that would have both JD students and these master's candidates together in the same class. Did I get that right?
Well, that actually happens now as well. So I teach employment law, and we do allow graduate students from other programs into my employment law class. But as I mentioned, it almost never happens, right? Part of it is that most of our students are full-time in person. So I teach this class, Tuesday, Thursday at 10 o'clock. That's a great time for our students, not a great time for working HR professionals.
Right.
So this class would really be designed to be an online asynchronous class designed for professionals. Could our students take it? I think so. I think it would be designed in a way that even JD students could take the class, but it would be a separate class from our live in-person employment law course.
Thank you. Okay.
There are questions. I have a question. I was curious how you came up with your numbers for enrollment.
So we looked at the demand. So we have this beautiful report by Hanover Research. They said there's quite a bit of demand. We looked at the numbers at similar schools. And honestly, we used pretty conservative numbers, even just to show, the first few years, having 10 full-time students and 20 part-time students would make it one of the smaller programs in the country. But even at that range, it would still bring in a revenue. And I think it would be a manageable start given our kind of small size. And Dean's doing a great job refilling our faculty. But as we bring in more people, we can continue to grow the program. I think it will grow beyond the 30 students we've envisioned so far.
Thank you. Other questions? Trish?
Thanks. I was intrigued by the thought of joint MPH program and this law master's, and it took me to your catalog looking at the very robust law health law program. I was unaware of it. And can you talk a little bit about where you see the demand there?
So
how soon they could, you could do these joint degrees.
Yeah, and just by way of background, we do have a current joint JD MPH degree and a JD MPPM degree. But again, that has faced the same challenges as our other degrees, where it's been hard to get students to kind of go across the borders, across the lines. Healthcare law was identified as maybe the fastest growing area and the area where there's the biggest need. Certainly, when we're looking at our future hiring needs, healthcare law is a big need for us. We've been working on a certificate program as well to work together with a joint certificate with the MPH program at Muskie. So I think there's a lot in the works that could happen here. This would allow our students to take some classes in the MPH program and MPH students to have easier access to our courses as well. So as we, this will grow the depth of the healthcare offerings and make those classes much more accessible.
And how long would it take to actually have a joint MPH MLS?
Well, I'd have to work with my counterparts at Muskie and at USM to see what we could develop. I don't think it'll take long. I think we've been pretty nimble and flexible in coming up with programming. We've done a good job developing a couple new certificate programs at the law school over the last 2 years. We have 2 brand new certificates we've developed over the last 2.5 years or so. So I think once the courses are developed, we can figure out which courses at the law school would count towards the MPH degree. And we've been pretty flexible about which courses in the MPH program counts towards the JD, and same thing towards the MLS. As I listed in the materials, up to 6 credits of the 30 could be outside the law school. So it would expedite the process. I'm not sure it could be done in a year, but maybe a year and a half, right? So we have to count up the credits and see how many credits they would accept and we would accept.
Thanks.
Other questions?
I see the dean has her hand up.
Dean Softly.
I just had to weigh in here quickly to let Trustee Riley know that President Cummings and I are actually working through the Graduate and Professional Center to increase faculty in health law and areas around aging and health. And we're looking at about a year out for some of the resources that will help us stand up more robust health law programs than we have right now. And that all actually dovetails with what's going on with the MLS and possibly the joint degrees. So we're working on several fronts to address the resources necessary.
Thank you. Roger, is your hand up or is that from?
Yeah, I'm sorry that I had not taken it down now twice. What happened again? Sorry.
Sorry, just don't want to miss you. All right, I don't think I see any other hands. So I will read the text of the proposed resolution. And that is that the Academic and Student Affairs Committee forwards this item to the consent agenda of the September 27th, 2021 Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and approves the creation of a Master's of Legal Studies for the University of Maine School of Law. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
So moved by Mark Gardner. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Tim Doak. Ellen, can you take the roll, please?
Trustee Doak,
Yes.
trustee Ames,
Yes.
trustee Gardner,
Yes.
trustee Cates,
Yes.
trustee McMahon,
Yes.
trustee Mishu,
Yes.
trustee Riley.
Yes.
The motion is carried.
Well, it's very exciting, and thank you for that presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next is tab 4, the endorsement of the University of Maine at Farmington credit hour change, and I'll turn to Provost Brown, please.
Okay, thank you, Chair Ames, and good morning, all. So I'm going to give just a little bit of context for this and kind of an update on where things stand. And then I'm happy to answer questions as they arise. So UMF is embarking on a major curricular transition. In 2006, the university actually moved from a 3-credit model to a 4-credit model. And this was, as many of you on the call here will remember, this was a time when the board's strategic direction was really towards mission differentiation for the University of Maine system campuses. And at the time, it made sense at all levels for UMF to move from 3 to 4 credits as a way to create a differentiated curriculum, to align with some of our co-plaque peers as the public liberal arts college for the University of Maine system, and to develop some other strategic initiatives that were enabled by that change. So 15 years down the road now, and the direction for the system and for the campuses, while still I think rightly promoting differentiation strategically, is of course also very driven by unified accreditation, multi-campus programming, alignment and cohesion across the system. So with that in mind and in that spirit, UMF last year in 2020 commissioned two external reports, also from Hanover Research, also with the same glossy cover that Dimitri presented. And one was a benchmarking of our peers, the other was a student survey. We also worked with an external consultant, Dr. Ron Hovis, who completed a thorough study of operationally and to some degree fiscally the implications of making a change now from 4 to 3 credits. And UMF also completed over the last year a new strategic plan in which there was a strong recommendation as well that this was the right time to reevaluate and potentially move the curriculum from 4 credits to 3 credits. So last spring of this year, 2021, administration, staff, faculty worked for a number of months together, reviewing both the reports that have been submitted and discussing what the implications and consequences would be, again, just operationally for the campus and conceptually and philosophically as well. So at the end of the semester, academic divisions, 9 academic divisions here at UMF responded to the report and to the proposal to make the change. I would characterize those responses from the divisions as expressing widespread support for the change, although that support, as you'd imagine, was not unanimous. And in May of this year, President Cerna made the announcement to campus that he was moving forward with the plan to transform the credit curriculum here from 4 credits to 3. I give just a very high level kind of overview of some of the work this will entail, and then I'll talk about the timeline that we're looking at. So this for our campus means the revision of every academic program to reflect a 3 credit hour course structure. That in turn means the revision at the course level of syllabi, course content, course cycling. In addition to the course rotation and course schedule, the weekly scheduling grid will need to be changed to adapt now in terms of seat time, et cetera, to this new model. We also will necessarily have to revise the general education program and then all of the appurtenances that go with this. So the catalog for degrees with program accreditation will have to communicate the new curriculum structure to the accrediting body, and articulation agreements and so forth will have to be updated and revised as well. The work to date might be better framed sort of working backwards. So I'll say we're looking to implement this fully in the fall of 2023. So that means, in effect, because of the way fall schedules are set up and faculty workload is previewed, really that means that by December or at the latest, very early December of 2022 or very early in 2023, the bulk of this work really needs to be completed. So if you further parse that, that means we're really looking at a little over a year's time with a summer intervening to complete all of that program level work. I will say that over this past summer, once President Cerna made the announcement in May, a number of programs did step forward, and credit as well the Chancellor, Ryan Lowe, the full team, Dr. Placido as well, that supported a lot of the work over the summer, in addition to just conceptually with compensation for faculty engaged in this 4-3 credit transition. But approximately 20% of our programs over the summer have already submitted draft plans for this curricular change. We also have a full report from the General Education Working Group making recommendations for how that would change as well. So there's a lot of work, obviously, to come here. I anticipate that this fall, we will have a number of program level, what I'm calling program level summits, in which the departments, divisions, programs will not only go through the internal study of what this means, not just sort of computationally in terms of their curriculum, but will be an opportunity to engage with marketing teams, enrollment strategists. I'm hoping to bring in, to the extent practicable, external consultants, much in the same way that we do actually when we're going through our 7-year program reviews. This would be a more condensed version of that, and a more accelerated in some ways version of that. But there are opportunities here, not just to align with other campuses in the system, not just to better position ourselves for transfer students, early college students who operate on a 3-credit model, but to actually really introspect on this campus across every program and think about best practices, think about ways to improve. It's in that way a really incredible opportunity to improve what we're doing here in multiple ways. So as we did in 2005, 2006, we are looking for, I think, affirmation, endorsement from the board that this move at UMF is consistent with the board strategic planning, that this makes sense for the campus, and that it makes good sense in general to go forward with this kind of a transition. So with that, I'll open up to any questions, and happy to try to answer.
Chair, may I make a few comments?
Yes, of course.
So first of all, I just want to clarify, you see in our agenda, the item is worded pretty specifically as an endorsement. I want to clarify that University of Maine at Farmington is bringing this recommendation forward to us, first and foremost for your awareness. But the word endorsement we chose because it doesn't really fit under any particular policy that needs approval. But this is a big change. I think the other point I want to make is just my congratulations to Provost Brown and President Cerna for studying this, for bringing this proposal forward. It's going to be difficult. It was a hard road just to even get the conversations going. Congratulate Farmington's faculty for really considering this and understanding the long-term impact to their university. I think as Provost Brown mentioned, that the benefits of the 4-credit curricular differentiation, and there are some, I will readily admit, don't outweigh the barriers it created for students' entry into Farmington, particularly with transfer students, which we're living in a time where we don't have 100% of students coming right out of high school anymore. There is no traditional student. It's adults. They're going into community colleges. They're going to work. They're coming back. They have life experience, and all of those things can't be captured in a model that is so wildly different that every student needs to undergo 2 weeks of transfer credit eval and all of that. And that's evidence in if you look at their enrollment, they take part in very little transfer work. Although Farmington has been great collaborators. They've had collaborative programs and then managed the credit transfer and all of that, mostly at the graduate level that's their longest history. I'm really hoping that we can expand collaborations, and Provost Brown and others, all of his colleagues. I was just thinking Joe's in my screen here, Provost President Zakis, are collaborating on nursing programs and all sorts of things. And I think the door will be open once we get this done. And early college as well. Provost Brown mentioned that. I think we'll see some great advantages. That's an area of the state that can be better served by doing this. So I look forward to this and congratulate everybody for getting to this point.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Good question.
Yes. Mike.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I too want to thank Provost Brown and everyone at the UMF for moving this forward. I think it will be very positive for the University of Farmington, as well as the system as a whole. I think it's, I'm just very pleased with it, and want to thank you and everyone involved for your effort. I know it probably wasn't easy moving in this direction, but I think it is a positive for both the system and for Farmington. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
Chair?
Yes, Mark.
Thank you, Chair. I'm very positive on this and think it's the right thing to do. But I was wondering if Provost Brown could just say a couple of words or around what does it mean to the student who is not going to graduate before 23 and then has part of their curriculum in 4 credits and then another part's going to be in 3 credit? How do you reconcile all that so that they graduate on time?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the tenets of this moving forward is absolutely holding students harmless in that transition. Right. So, we do have in some ways the fortune of having gone through this in the other direction. And I was here when we moved from 3 to 4 credits, and we did set up individual graduation plans at that point for every single student. And I expect that that's probably what we'll do again this time. So there will be necessarily in that a study of some course equivalencies. Of course, the other component of this, moving from now 4 to 3 credits, we had also in 2006 moved from 120 credits to graduate to 128. We will be moving that down as well to 120. So in some ways, it may be actually, I'm hoping, a little easier to accommodate students who may need, in fact, fewer requirements now to graduate than it was in moving the other direction when there was some additional requirement. Although even then, students were, as I said, held harmless. And in fact, I went back just last night to review some of the accommodations that were made. They extended as far as forgiving up to 1 credit hour per semester, I believe, for students who needed to then take say 16 credits instead of 15 credits in a semester. That additional credit fee was waived for those students. So we'll make sure that that's that we follow a lot of those same principles as we move in this direction. But that's paramount in all this, of course, is make sure that the students are taken care of.
Thank you. Thanks.
Trish? No? Okay. David?
I too congratulate Eric and President Cerner on a very good job. My question is, are there any fiscal implications of this move?
There are. I mean, there are some short-term implications, certainly. As I just said, when moving from 128 down to 120 credits means that you are effectively removing those additional credits from the revenue side, and the move also to 3 credits means that students, a full load is typically now going to be 15 credit hours in a semester instead of 16 credit hours in a semester. And so there are implications there. I think that when we looked, in totality at this, and not just in the short term, but talking really here 3, 5, 10 years out, that the reason this made sense fiscally as well is because the larger movements in play here with unified accreditation, with the way the campuses are continuing to integrate and work together, that the benefits of being part of that process in a seamless way outweighed some of the reductions that we can anticipate in some of the revenue side. I think it's also conceivable, although this is, of course, partly speculation, though it is included in the report from our external consultant. It's conceivable, of course, that enrollment could increase in some areas. The cost of the education at UMF being modestly reduced by 8 credit hours could be a tipping point for some students. But I think it's really in the immediate about driving up the numbers in early college and in our transfer numbers that we can look to balance off some of what we lose on the margins in the credit hours that way. And then, as I said, really about just the larger enterprise here about being able to take advantage of efficiencies and alignment with other campuses as we go forward.
Chair,
Yes.
may I? I would like to personally thank Eric Brown for his leadership. President Sarna, who's not with us today, did an outstanding job. Robert Placido and Ryan Lowe also were great partners in this effort. This was the faculty had to travel together to accomplish this in the way it was done and in the time that it was done. People have recognized the impediment of the 4 credit hour, at least with respect to transfer students, for a long period of time. But to move in the way that we're moving, to allow this university to be fully participatory in a unified accredited setting, which this step had to happen if that was to come about, is really quite spectacular alignment of moving to unified accredit, moving this university so it can participate and hopefully rebuild its number of students, which are down, I think, about 240 students in the last 4 years. It's hard to be successful in a system where we lose a large percent of our students, higher than we would celebrate, and then not be in a position to invite new students mid-college experience to a campus. I also want to thank Jim Thalen for the role that he played in all of this. And really, this is an important moment, I think, for the university and for the system, and most particularly of great interest and success with respect to unified accreditation. So I wanted to thank those people who aren't necessarily on the campus, but played a funding role, a support role, a listening role. And by the way, we had to write out some checks with respect to consultants to get this done as well, to work with the faculty, played that role as well. I guess that's banking. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor. I second that as well. And this was definitely a team effort at multiple levels and wouldn't have happened otherwise. So thank you for all of that.
Well, thank you all. Are there any other comments or questions? All right, seeing none. I will read the text of the proposed resolution that the Academic and Student Affairs Committee forwards this item to the September 27th, 2021 Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee to accept and endorse the University of Maine at Farmington's transition plan to move to a 3 credit hour model as soon as practical, and directs UMS to propose appropriate revisions to UMS Board Policy 303.1 for further board consideration and action. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
So moved by Trustee Mishu, and I did not see who did the second. Maybe you did, Ellen.
David.
David, thank you, David. Ellen, can you take the roll, please?
Certainly. Trustee Doak,
Yes.
Trustee Ames,
Yes.
Trustee Gardner,
Yes.
Trustee Tates,
Yes.
Trustee McMahon,
Yes.
Trustee Mishu,
Yes.
Trustee Riley.
Yes,
The motion is carried.
Thank you.
great.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for that helpful presentation. At this time, we'll turn to tab 5, Faculty Governance Council update with Carolyn Dorsey.
Good morning. As part of my role in the Academic Affairs Office, I support the work of the UMS Faculty Governance Council. So I'm here today to just offer a brief update on the Council's recent work. So as many of you know, as part of the NETCHI proposal seeking unified accreditation, UMS discussed creating a system-wide faculty governance body that would ensure the faculty voice is heard early and often in the system work that we do. So over the past year, the group has met regularly to develop a robust communication channel between the campus level faculty bodies and the system. So as a reminder, the present group consisted of all of the campus faculty senate or assembly leadership. Their presidents or chairs all came together to create this initial group of UMS Faculty Shared Governance Council. And so they've worked over this past year to develop that sort of communication channel back with their local campus bodies and folks at the system. They've also worked on creating a charter and establishing their committee composition and their charge. And they've done that in concert with their campus groups, again, the leadership and faculty at each campus. And one of the things that I'm really pleased about with their work is not only does the composition represent equal representation from each of the campuses in the law school, but they've also in this first year been able to develop their own internal leadership system and created a way to be able to sustain their work and have past presidents from the system offices and the campuses be part of the group, as well as incoming faculty that might be new to the role. So they've also begun to work on some of their committee business, as I call it, which would be assisting in some of the review of academic affairs related procedures, the policies and processes that we've been looking at. They've assisted with some of the NETCHI reporting, and they're also very eager to begin their work around supporting multi-campus academic collaborations. So they didn't meet in July and August, but they are scheduled to resume their regularly scheduled meetings this week. And again, just extremely pleased with the progress this group was able to make in the first year, and look forward to the continued refinement that the council will do on their charter and work in the upcoming academic year. So I realize that was very brief, but it is sort of an update to what I gave just a couple of months ago. So didn't know if anyone had any questions or comments about the upcoming year.
Any questions or comments? Well, thank you. Seeing none, we'll go on to tab 6, and I'm not sure, I think that's Jeff, or is it Jeff and Carolyn?
It's both of us, Chair Eames, and if you like this presentation, you can thank yourself. So at the July meeting of this committee, you mentioned an interest in an update on work being done under the banner of unified accreditation. Afterwards, Carolyn and I decided to put our heads together and put together a list of topics in different areas. We thought we were being clever and proactive, but Laura Sear, Director of Strategic Projects in Robert Placido's office, had already put together a full list and drafted a PowerPoint. So you can see where the real intellectual firepower exists here in Estabrook Hall. Carolyn will lead off with the first couple of areas of this presentation, and then I'll pick up and move us through to the end. So I'll turn to Carolyn.
Sure, thank you, Jeff. And this is just an overview slide. We'll move on to the next slides, but it gives you an idea of the three sort of basic areas that we broke the information or the progress to date into. First was faculty, administrative coordination, and then some strategic initiatives based around accreditation with Jeff's work. I won't give my presentation over again, but just wanted to make sure that the Faculty Governance Council was included in this list of UA wins for the first year. Again, can't stress how pleased I am with the work that they've done, and really excited for their role in the the campus collaborations that we're working on for the next academic year, or this academic year, actually, that we're now in. Under administrative coordination, one of the topics that I wanted to just mention was our work around the statewide strategic program plans. Many of you may remember this work, some it may be new to you. It was something that the VCAA's office created as a way for academic leaders from similar program areas to be able to come together from across the system and plan for a system-wide approach to utilizing the existing resources they have and identifying gaps that may exist in order to help meet workforce demands, student needs, state resident needs. So the VCAA's office has been facilitating these conversations currently with the education programs, nursing program leads, and also with the MGI group. So we had, or I shouldn't say we, it was created before I came on board. Vice Chancellor Placido and Deputy Chancellor, Vice Chancellor Kay Kimball at the time worked on offering a template where administrative academic leads from across the campuses could come together and sort of do a strategic plan and look at what does each program look like right now, and what might it need to look like in order to move forward in a way to meet the needs and begin to collaborate more fully. So we've continued to do this in a way that would appreciate each university's distinct program strengths, and also in a way that would be able to combine and leverage the resources so they can still continue to work independently but be stronger together in many ways. So it allows us to articulate uniqueness, but also create a set of shared priorities that would best advance the student success and address those state needs. So we've been moving forward with those groups, looking to see how future work might be able to include the next round of academic programs that we would invite to be part of this process, and then how to make sure that we do this process in a way that is inclusive and will be able to be sustainable as we move forward. Again, one of the areas that we're focusing on this year is to move away from sort of that what is, and how do we become more strategic in looking at what we might need to do in order to meet the immediate workforce needs. They have also been able to, at times we're called upon by folks that may have a question or a piece of legislation that's going through where they need support on something, and they'll reach out to us, and it's been an asset to be able to just pull together this group quickly and easily and have them be able to answer to those stakeholders that have questions or might need information or help on a pretty immediate basis. So that's the statewide strategic program plan. If there's any questions, you feel free to jump in, and if not, we'll keep moving on to the next topic. The next is building coordination and assessment between the system and the universities. As you know, each campus has a solid process for how they collect data on their campuses and how they report assessment information up to the system, but also to NECHI and to their program accreditation folks. So as part of UA, we'll be required as a system to begin to offer UMS assessment data to NECHI. So with the help of Jeff St. John and others who have been leaders on their campuses in the assessment area, we've begun to talk about how do we take what they're doing at the campus level and make sure that we have a process for that to be able to feed up into the system level reporting that would be required. And also working with NECHI to make sure that we understand what it is that they'll be looking for from us as a system versus what an individual campus may have presented to them in the past. So Jeff has really been helpful in that work and in getting me in touch with some of the different leaders across the system and at the campuses, and they've begun to start to look at what they do and how, again, that will inform what we will do as a system. And that sort of rolls into the next bullet, which is Jeff's work on the self-study assessment team. So if you want to pick up from here, Jeff.
Thanks, Carolyn. The most immediate example of the type of UMS reporting that Carolyn was just describing is our need to report out assessment data along with other institutional data for the self-study over the course of the coming year as we prepare to file it next summer. I've previously reported to the board and to this committee that we've formed an institutional data team. And we've also now fully formed an assessment data team. And that second team focusing on assessment data will do the work that Carolyn was just describing. They will, as a combination of campus-based assessment staff and UMS institutional research staff working together, will develop data definitions for how we populate a set of forms that will contain assessment data that we report both at the university level and for multi-university programs at the global or UMS level to NETCHI next year. If you love data, this is a dream come true. And even if you don't, it's a dream come true because it's an example of unified accreditation in action. It's one of the most direct examples I can think of going on right now. And I specifically use the term assessment teams, plural, for this bullet because within the assessment team, you will have groups of campus and system staff working together in different combinations as we develop those data definitions and figure out how to populate the forms, both at the university level and at the system level. We will be this week when Carolyn and I speak for the first time this academic year with the Faculty Governance Council, seeking faculty representatives for both teams, the institutional data team and the assessment data team for the NETCHI self-study, just as faculty were essential to the process of writing the drafts for the narrative portion of self-study. We need and desire faculty participation and guidance in the development of the data that we share with NETCHI for the other big component of the self-study. So that's what we're doing with assessment data at this point. And unless there are questions, Carolyn, I think we can move on to the next bullet. Unified catalog work this summer has gone well. I've updated, I think, this group, the presidents and the provosts at every opportunity. I hope you're not tired of hearing about it. As we promised the Faculty Governance Council at the end of May, I have restricted my work on Unified Catalog over the summer to technically oriented subject matter, not subject matter that would fall under faculty purview. I've worked with the registrars who've been fantastic in trying to learn more about how courses are coded in Main Street. We have come to the point where the registrars have identified a common set of course coding components that, as it turns out, everyone or almost everyone uses in almost the same combination when they build courses. The only reason that those components aren't shared and haven't been shared identically from the beginning is because when we built our student information system, we divided it up into 7 buckets instead of setting it up originally so that all data would flow from one university to the other in a seamless way. We will be seeking, again this week and meeting with the Faculty Governance Council, faculty representatives to join the Unified Catalog project team that met once in May and once about a week and a half ago. And we will then begin speaking with faculty in that group, and I will be speaking with faculty on the campuses about potential next steps for the Unified Catalog work. And I'll simply say for this group, all of whom have seen, or most of whom have seen, the fantastic repaving Main Street PowerPoint that David Demers has developed, what is possible under the Unified Catalog initiative is substantially more than just improving the visibility and searchability of semester offerings in Main Street. What is possible is to fundamentally transform and improve the student, faculty, and staff experience using Main Street to eliminate numerous barriers that faculty have rightly been complaining about for a long time, that staff have been frustrated by, and that have been impediments both to individual student activity, taking classes on more than one campus, and to the development and success of multi-university academic programs. So that's where we're going. That's where we're going in partnership with our faculty. Look forward to working with the Faculty Governance Council this year and with the provosts who've been helpful in thinking about potential faculty representatives for this group as well, in identifying faculty to serve on the project team and to begin speaking with them and their colleagues on their campuses about next steps in the Unified Catalog initiative. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have about that. Moving on. Communication with NECHI, 3 very brief updates. Working with the presidents and with NECHI, we've developed a process on the internal side and in one piece on the NECHI facing side for how we manage our business with our accreditor. We've developed a document to address site visits, how we write reports, and how we manage correspondence with NECHI. We are 99% of the way done with that. We have one more conversation to have on a related topic later this week, but we anticipate very, very shortly sharing that document, and also a document describing how our accreditation language will appear on our respective websites, university websites, UMS website, law school website. Another product of conversations with the presidents, with our law dean, and with NECHI over the course of the summer. And just one example of unified accreditation in action here, Provost Brown, who's the hero of the hour, apparently did some fantastic work over this summer and early fall on short notice for some NECHI reporting and correspondence that we needed to do collaboratively. We worked together, but Provost Brown did 97% of the work on that and did it in a timely and very effective way. So I just want to congratulate Farmington, Provost Brown and his team for an example of unified operations in action, and a recent one and a very positive one from my perspective. And then finally, just a very brief update here, because I'll be speaking more about this at the board update at the end of the month. By tomorrow afternoon, we will have finalized our message to the UMS community and our plan for sharing the self-study in draft at 3 points during the coming academic year. At the end of this month, next February and next May, in keeping with the Chancellor's commitment to transparency and engagement and everything we do under unified accreditation, we will be actively seeking feedback from the UMS community for both the narrative portion of the self-study initially, and then later for all of it, for the data, for everything that we plan on reporting as we prepare to complete and submit the self-study early next summer, most likely in June. So more on that when the details are pinned down, again, at the full board meeting at the end of the month. But those are our updates on strategic initiatives and accreditation for this morning. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. Chair Eames, I'm going to take deafening silence as a sign of rousing success.
Yes, well, thank you very much for that wonderful and thorough and informative presentation. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Mark?
Just a comment to thank everybody who's been involved in all this work. I think it's impressive how much has already been accomplished, knowing there's a lot yet to be done. And I just want to acknowledge and thank everybody that's been working on this. I think it's critical to the long-term success and future of the whole system to really be successful here with this unified accreditation and what it can open up for opportunities for everybody.
Thank you. I would like to echo Mark's sentiments here. I'm particularly impressed at the involvement and commitment of the faculty and everyone working together so well. It has been reported over the past several meetings. So kudos to all of you, and thank you for working so hard to move this important, really, a unified accreditation is where we're at and where we're continuing to go. So thank you. Appreciate all of your hard work. Others? All right, seeing none, I will turn tab 7 over to President Farini Monday. The University of Maine at Machias Regional Campus Task Force.
Thank you very much. Chair Eames, can you see my screen?
And
Okay. I can't see you all, but I'll assume it's working. I'll just give a very brief update, and it fits really, I think, quite well with the last item, given that this is also about unification, an update on the work that really began in April of 2016 when this board made the recommendation to form a primary partnership between the University of Maine and the University of Maine at Machias. And then in 2017, named the University of Maine at Machias as a regional campus of the University of Maine. So we have been,
Can you maximize your
can I,
screen?
oh, sorry.
Yep. Thank you.
Dan, wait. Oh, we're, sorry, we're,
Yeah.
where, here? Trying to get the screen to go bigger. Is that better?
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. Right, sorry. And so as we have been watching for the last 4 or 5 years how this has been going and leaving this development of the partnership to sort of evolve, we decided this past year that it was time to put together a task force that would actually move things forward more quickly, particularly to get to implementation so that we could give meaning to what it is to be a regional campus. And so I want to thank Dean Emily Haddad, who has agreed to chair this group, has been chairing this group since March. She's here on the call with us. It's a phenomenally complicated set of activities that we're learning about as we go from having essentially two campuses that were always cordial, but indeed didn't have some of the details of their relationship worked out to one where those details are worked out. There are more than 100 people from both campuses working on this. And it's very similar to some of the sorts of things we've been hearing already this morning about unified accreditation in the level of detail that needs to be taken up. Here you see the enrollment trends, which of course were a big part, I assume, of the reason for taking a look at this new kind of a partnership. On the left, you see head counts. I am told that our number today at UMaine Machias total is 513, which is up a little bit. So we're very optimistic that that number will hold till census for this left-hand graph. And then for the right-hand graph, there has been a decline in the number of personnel there as the university seeks to redefine itself in the light of this new partnership. So what we did was essentially took all of the lists that everyone had been making for years to figure out what questions needed to be answered and what items needed to be checked off, and created 7 different working groups. And here's where the 100 people are dispersed across these groups. I'll just point to a couple. Group 2 is working on academic program alignment and the single catalog project. So this is to unify the UMaine Machias and UMaine catalogs as quickly as we can, and for that to feed in, of course, to the system-wide unified catalog effort. But the point here is that for students at either university, we want it to be seamless and easy, since they are, in a sense, part of the same university, to be able to take courses at the other. And we're seeing some of that this year actually in place. Admissions and enrollment management has also been a very important group, because we are now fully connected in trying to bring the numbers up at Machias and using the full UMaine enrollment management team, with Latif O'Connor assigned specifically from UMaine to be the UMaine Machias liaison. And then the third group that I will mention is the growth strategies for UMaine Machias. We want the campus to be able to envision itself into the future. We know that the community around it, particularly in Machias, counts on this campus and the good work that they do to both prepare a workforce, but also to be a social and cultural center for them. And so we do have a team that is looking at the future and where we'll go. I will point out that we have members of the UMaine Machias Board of Visitors in these groups, as well as faculty and staff from both campuses. So it's a very interesting activity that Dean Haddad has been leading so ably over the past several weeks, and we are closing in on a final report that will provide an update. One of the sorts of things that has taken time is, for example, developing a recommended org chart, which is still under discussion, but as you see here, there will be a stronger clarity about the way in which UMaine Machias and UMaine come together under a new org chart. Their timeline has been quite aggressive, and the group worked diligently certainly through the spring. And now back into the fall, we are looking to incorporate the new branding, and we are, in fact, in our marketing and enrollment management work. So you see the new brand, the logo to the left here is going to be in our materials, and we're already very optimistic about how this will help us with UMaine Machias recruitment in particular. So I wanted you to have an update. The work is going on, and because there are so many folks involved, it's getting a lot of attention really, and I think is being very well regarded in so many areas as we come together, and frankly, as UMaine learns about programs, courses, and activities that are happening at UMaine Machias and that can be of great interest to UMaine students and vice versa. And as I say, I have Dean Haddad here who can speak to the details, as well as Head of Campus Dan Qualls is there to answer any questions that you might have. So with that, thank you very much for taking a moment to learn more about the regional partnership.
Thank you, President Farini-Mundy. Are there any questions? I can't see that many people on my screen, so if you have a question, just go ahead and jump in.
Chair Eames, Trish,
Yes.
can I ask a question? This is impressive work, and I like the focus on the importance of Machias to the community. But I was struck by that chart that we have about now roughly 500 students with 84 staff, 48 of whom are faculty, which strikes me as a ratio of staff to students that is not sustainable. And where does this effort focus in on that question?
I'll turn to Head of Campus Qualls in a second, Trustee Riley, but what I would say is that a big part of this discussion really is about the academic programming that makes sense for Machias. Dan maybe could mention our coastal year process, but it's very clear that we're going to need to, we have been under Dr. Qualls' leadership, have been scaling back and focusing on the programs that are viable, that stand to grow, and that are of interest to the community. Dan, can you chime in on that, please?
Yeah, so we do have on standby with the task force with a lot of their recommendations and a lot of decisions being made. We do have a lot of positions there on standby because it's going to be we'll be able to share some positions. And a good example is with the Maine Business School, where a lot of their programming is now online. So we could have faculty that support both campuses. And so we're working closely with Dean Faye Gilbert and her associate dean to design positions that can fit both campuses. So that's exciting, and that's coming up. And then in terms of staff, we do have several positions that we've developed and that we're getting ready to put forward that focus mainly on student retention. Like an intensive case manager and some things like that. I will say that we have struggled in terms of some positions during the pandemic, where the housing market has prevented us from hiring specifically a director of facilities, and that search is still ongoing. And we're about to start. This is probably getting into the weeds for you guys, but we're about to start the interviews for that. But it has been a challenge, and we're leaning heavily on the University of Maine in a lot of areas like admissions.
But that sounds like more staff, and my concern was too much staff given the size of.
Right. So the overlap will be right. Like Lateef O'Connor is a great example where he's staff here, but he's actually housed at the University of Maine. We don't have like this year. There's no new faculty hires, none. We're down. Like we lost faculty. We didn't gain any faculty back. So we're not ramping up. We're not wrapping up in that regards. It's more, the focus is more on what can we do with the University of Maine that benefits both campuses. That's really been the focus of all of our new hires. But no, we're not stacking them up.
Could Dean Haddad just chime in on this, please, briefly?
Sure. So President Freeney Monday emphasized focusing on a portfolio of programs that could be successful. What I would add to that is that some of those programs can also be very appealing to the much larger number of students that are recruited to the University of Maine in Orono. So, for example, starting last fall, so we're now entering year 2, we've been able to offer a minor in mental health rehabilitation technician studies to psychology minors at the University of Maine by jointly delivering that minor with the Machias campus. This has brought students into those Machias courses who would not otherwise have done so. And looking at ways to bring students into courses where the program may be completed at UMaine, or ultimately once Main Street is repaved and many of the issues that Jeff St. John rightly identified have been resolved, there will be opportunities there as well. So to look at this solely as a matter of which degree-seeking students at the University of Maine at Machias are using University of Maine at Machias resources ultimately may be a simplification of the question. That has been historically how those resources have been used, but much of the work of the task force has been intended to open that out so that we would not be looking only at the students who are represented on the graph at the left.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Well, thank you for this update. Very much appreciated. And then seeing no other questions or comments, I'll turn to tab 8. Although they generously put my name as on this, I think really I will turn it over to Robert, who can, we've certainly discussed the work plan, but I'll ask you to present it, Robert.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So this year, we started out with the standard work plan and filled in some more detail to include our unified approach. So you'll notice on the calendar that we have regular updates about the unified accreditation, the calendar, or the shared enrollment system, and faculty governance council, to name a few things. We also didn't have regular spots for items like micro-credentials and data governance, and so we put those in. To make it more clear, we put in regular action items for program proposals because in previous work plans that wasn't in there. It wasn't clear that we could bring proposals forward at any point. The only other thing I would offer on this is I understand there might be an interest in redefining our agendas to be themed based so that there might be some opportunity to focus deeper at each meeting in the future on a particular topic, and we'll be flexible and adjust the work plan accordingly once those conversations get started. But there is a task for us in September to get this out the door, and this is what we've presented to you.
Thank you. Have you all had a chance to take a look at the work plan, and do you have any comments or suggestions or thoughts? I do want to note that we have a COVID impact update in October, and it would be nice that if that was the last COVID impact update, maybe. But it's hard to say at this point, I guess. All right, seeing no comments or suggestions about the FY 2022 work plan, I will turn to tab 9 and ask if there's any faculty representation discussion. Clyde.
Chair Eames, I'm not aware of anything from the other faculty members, but I certainly wanted to just make a comment myself and wanted to thank yourself, the trustees, the chancellor, and Robert Placida's office for all the support they provided for Farmington. both from our financial challenges and our restructuring now and our change to 3 credits. Certainly, the faculty are very supportive, and we know it would have been a struggle to do it without that support. So thank you very much from all of us. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Clyde. During that discussion, I was wondering what you were thinking, so I appreciate you commenting. So thank you for that. Are there any student representative discussions? I think I had been told there wasn't, but I just want to make sure. And if anybody, if you're not on my screen and you want to say something, don't hesitate to speak up. All right. Well, I see nothing more. So I want to thank you all for your participation today. And it says here on my annotated agenda that we don't need a motion or a vote to adjourn. So I will just go ahead and declare this meeting adjourned and wish you all a great rest of your day and a wonderful fall. And we'll